Good evening, and welcome to another edition of Purpose for Forever. I am A.D. Anthony Walker. Yeah, like that. And this is Samantha. Hey, Sam. Oh, make sure you are sharing. Sharing is caring, and all that, and then some. And I appreciate you guys being here, rocking and watching, even the replay. Thank you guys for being here. Also, all of our Purpose for Forever people appreciate them as well. All of the couples that are connected, I appreciate them as well. So we're gonna have a great conversation tonight. It's not gonna be a long one. Our partner here is a little under the weather. Um, you're tired. Okay, it's okay. So we're gonna just have a good convo, and we're gonna dig into it, and we'll be right back. After, right after
Why you laughing?
this.
Me and you together, our purpose for forever. Won't let nothing ever tear us apart. Me and you together, our purpose for forever. Won't let nothing ever tear us apart. Me and you together, our purpose for.
Hey! All right. All right. So today we're talking about building a marriage on understanding. I always kind of throw the topic off based on what Sam want to talk about. We always kind of. So too hot?
We agree not to blow it this way.
Okay, no blowing. Get better. Okay,
Thank you, honey.
awesome. All right, so we're talking about building a marriage on understanding, and Sam had a great breakdown.
Nope. You changed the topic.
No, I didn't. Okay, well, Sam has a great breakdown. We're going on for that. Okay, thank you guys for coming. Appreciate you. See you next week.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
But their first online argument in front of people that's supposed to watch us talk about not arguing.
All right, so break down the 3 C's.
Building a marriage on understanding. That's what we're going to talk about. Andy's going to lead the way, and I'm just going to jump in.
What's up, Dr. Rollins?
Hi, Dr. Rollins. Listen, he keep messing with me. It's about to be ugly, right on line. Come on.
All right, so we appreciate you guys being here and rocking with us again. Like I said, today we're talking about building marriage on understanding, and we're not in an understanding place right now. As you can see, so you're gonna get it live worked out. What's up, Rollins? We got the Rollins in the building.
Yeah, it's not to be worked out all right.
All right, so like I said, today we're talking about building marriage on understanding, and some of the factors of reaching understanding is having conversation. Right, having conversation about what we should be understanding.
All right, you already know if you keep pushing me, this is not gonna be.
Because I told so much.
Internet friendly. That's what's gonna happen.
They didn't want to be on today.
Okay, so here's the thing, right? About understanding.
Right.
When you have a conversation and you express certain things to your mate, right? Then the mate is not supposed to continue to do the things you discussed, right?
What is that? What are we discussing that I'm continuing to do?
Can we have the conversation? You're about to work my nerves online. Can we just talk about understanding?
Okay. So, like I said, today we're talking about building the marriage on understanding, and basically coming to a point of either agreement or even if it's agree to disagree, having an understanding of what things that you're trying to accomplish or who your mate is and all of that, and then some. Because of course, we all know the Bible says that all thy getting, get understanding, and having that in your marriage helps keep things connected and keep things flowing. Yeah, friendly. So, but without it, it can be disastrous. When understanding is not understood, or the understanding is broken, then it can create waves in your relationship and problems and situations that can honestly be easily fixed or easily avoided, if we have the conversation to reach a space where we know where the other person is coming from.
Right.
And a lot of times, and we've been together a long time, so we've been in those ununderstanding spaces. Not online. Don't spit online.
That is not a word.
It is. Dr. Rollins, don't check me on that. Ununderstanding. So when that understanding is not met, or like I said, when we
misunderstood.
Boom, we have a conversation and there's a misunderstoodness. We have to get back to it. Honestly, I know we're being silly, but real talk, with relationships and marriage, it can be a constant fight if there isn't communication about what we are trying to accomplish, or because every situation there's some levels of communication, even down to even shopping or spending or going out, just so we know each party knows what the flow of the household is going on, what's going on, and then even deal with your children and things of that nature. So it's like, okay, today, we agreed on you doing such and such. If something changes, and we have the conversation of, I can't do it today because of blah, 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 blah. If there's no understanding met, then there becomes an issue. You understand what I'm saying? So we have to have those conversations to get into the right spaces so that we can, at least, even if we agree to disagree, we can still keep flowing. Right?
Right.
Okay. So my partner's silent today. All right, so go ahead.
I'll jump in when I feel like it. I'm just saying after conference. So here's the thing, right? Since we online and since we're gonna just do this online, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we discussed what we're gonna talk about, right? He asked me if I say, let's talk about this, right? And you make me think we're gonna talk about it, and then I get to the computer and it's something different, I'm thrown off because, I prepared to talk about a certain thing for the conversation. So our understanding was not met before we got online.
And see, I thought we had this conversation. I threw out the topic on what we're going to discuss. I thought what she threw in was just a subtext to what we're discussing, because that is part of understanding.
Okay.
That's how I looked at it. But
obviously, as you can see, we're not understanding each other today, because clearly we are of two totally different minds. And then we got online, and now we look just a little bit.
I don't.
Yeah, okay.
You may. I mean, it shift. Like, if you can still, like I said, it goes. If one of the words fits into the understanding, then why can't it go all into one? But we'll talk about that later. All right. So, like I said, the only way you can get to understanding if you have the conversation, and then you have to have the conversations to understand what's being discussed, what's the goal, And obviously, we had a little breakdown in communication. I thought one thing, she thought another, and obviously we didn't meet in the middle there.
No, not at all. We didn't meet in the middle. We didn't meet on the side. We didn't meet anywhere. And yet, here we are. I mean, the reality is, things change at the last minute. Really, I'm just not feeling 100%. So that's making it even more difficult to pivot in the middle of a conversation. But at the end of the day, when you understand...
I don't say I'm understanding.
Listen, at the end of the day, when you understand each other, and here's the thing, he knows who I am. right?
I do.
Okay. So, and Trees, you in the comments, you know who I am. So, like, it goes a long way understanding your partner and making a relationship work. And to be honest, over time people change, things change, the relationship changes. And you always, like you said, you always have to be communicating, you always have to be talking, you have to be clear.
Right.
Not like we did today, because this was an epic fail. You have to be clear on what you're saying to somebody, and not just clear, but you have to make sure they comprehend what you're saying. Because if you just say something and you think I understand, or you think I hear it one way, and you don't check back, like, you got it, you understand, you're familiar with the direction, where we're heading. I think those things are important. And sometimes, like we did today, you start out on a path in two different directions. And although this is a very small thing, and trust me, once we shut the computer, it's a done thing. I mean, maybe a conversation as to how to do this better the next time, but it's really that simple. Like, you're just trying to get to the same space, but you're taking different paths. And unfortunately, as you know, when you've been, if two people, like on Sunday, me and Trees, we left the church and we were heading to a store. Okay, she went one way, I went one way. She got to the store before me, but I'm sitting outside the store like a dodo because I didn't see her car, not realizing that she was there. So it's the same thing in your relationship. When you both...
So a lot of times, hold on. A lot of times my wife think I can read her mind.
Right. So when, so in a relationship, when you both think, we're heading to the same space, which is for forever, but you decide to go this way and I decided to go that way. And then, there's a breakdown sometimes. Because you don't always, like I said, I got there, she was already there. I had no idea. I'm sitting outside, she inside. Now, luckily, she didn't become frustrated. And I didn't continue to sit there to be frustrated. But that's what happens in relationships. Because you turn around and you look and your spouse is like over here doing something else. And you don't understand how this works toward the forever. And it can cause issues. And of course, you have to, well, I'll say this. I feel, because again, we're not experts, so I'll tell you what works for us. For us, we got to stop. It's kind of like freeze tag. Everybody freeze. And we kind of got to discuss where we are and how we got here. Like, how did we get here? And then, of course, it rolls back to the conversation. Well, I said we were going to do this. And then it comes to me saying, okay, but I was going to do it this way. And he says, no, well, I was going to do it this way. And then we kind of figure out, that, okay, we just had different approaches. Like, he's not working against me. He hasn't become my enemy. He's not working against it forever. We just have different approaches to get to the same place. What did you say?
So yes, we are learning that you can have the best communication skills and still miss key signals to how your partner is feeling, which throws stuff off. Yes.
Right. Which unfortunately it happens.
Well, yes.
Right. It happens all the time.
Issue. Yeah.
And that's the thing, Truth. Like, get into the root of the issue. Like, sometimes that's the scary part for people. People don't want to talk about how we got here. We just want to talk about how can we get away from this space, how we can get to a better place, how can we be happy. And sometimes if you don't really backtrack and trace your steps, only thing that happens is in the future you'll wind up in this same space because you didn't figure it out. You didn't work out the issue. You just kind of moved past it.
Yeah, I think definitely getting to the root, having the conversation where the issue started, where the miscommunication went wrong, while we was in Publix, we had the cross signals happen right there.
Keep going back to it.
But yeah, and how, how we didn't get to that understanding of how to get to the goal or get what we wanted to accomplish, you know, like even tonight or, you know, just anything. Like you said, she was outside, Sam was outside, Dr. Ronald was inside. Like I said, if no one took the step or to find the other or figure out where we at, then they both would have left.
Mad,
right?
She
didn't
even
even come.
like, right. She'd have been thinking, Sam didn't even come.
Kayla.
And I'd have been thinking, well, I don't know when Dr. Ronald was with.
Right.
So, that's the point. It's important to like, okay, here we are. I don't know what happened that we wind up, you know, it's important to figure out how.
Right.
Like today, you know, we had a discussion and kind of figured out just in talking. It wasn't like, you know, I was trying to pull it out of him. We were just talking about things.
Right.
And I try to be very creative with my follow-up questions. And what do I mean by creative? I mean creative because, one, I don't like for him to feel attacked. And then, you know, which I'm probably going to get the look for this, but, you know, he gets very defensive sometimes. And so I have to remind him when he does it, I'm like, okay, do you realize right now, like, you're being defensive? And, you know, instead of, I don't try to match his aggression. Now, defensive, like, he's not, like, angry or yelling. But sometimes, you know, body language, you can notice your spouse, their mood is changing. Right. And instead of trying to match his mood, you know, because I understand, like, this sometimes is what happens when we get into uncomfortable spaces. Right. You know, I've learned to just kind of ease back a little bit, but still let him know, hey, look, right here, like, this is where the defenses have come up. Like, and we can't get through this conversation unless, you know, you realize what's happening and kind of take a breath. But even on the other side of the conversation, we realize one of the things he does is kind of something he learned, you know, growing up. And it's not necessarily a bad thing, because I know people's minds start wandering all around other than what we're talking about. Right. It wasn't that it was a bad thing, but it's just something that he realized he picked up from his parents. Right. And even though he's 40-something years old, like, it's still in his head. Right. And sometimes decisions are made based on those thoughts. And I was like, okay, well, and instead of me offering to him what I think he should do to move past it, because women, sometimes we gonna fix it. We got the answers, you know, and it's not, you know, sometimes it's not even intentional. Just we kind of get into the habit of always doing, always, you know, helping somebody, always having the answer, that sometimes we have the answer too much, even for our spouse. And we have to realize and understand that, you know, that whole men are from Mars and women are from Venus. I mean, I don't put a whole lot of stock in it, but at the same time, men receive things differently. Yeah. Definitely. So sometimes they don't want to be fixed, helped, you know, or any of that. So I ended it by saying, okay, how do you think?
So, yeah. Protect the defense, protect yourself. Yeah. You
know, and I kind of asked him, how do you think you can move past that? Right. Instead of telling him, well, I think you should do this to get over it, you know, because it wouldn't have helped. And you're right, Sean. Sometimes defense is to protect yourself. Right. But what I always remind him is we on the same team. Right. We connected. Like, you don't have to protect yourself from me. Right. Like, and then on top of that, if I'm doing something that makes you feel like you need to protect yourself, I need you to tell me. Right. Like,
or protect your mate.
Right. I need you to tell me, like, what I'm doing to make you defend, you know, to put up your defenses. Right. And then at the same time, like, just like, I don't want him to feel like he needs to protect himself. In certain spaces, I don't need him to protect me. I need him to love me, and I need him to support me. Right. So even if it's something that you think, you know, might not be favorable, or it might even leave a bad taste in my mouth, like, you have to trust me enough to, you know, to just have the conversation and allow us to work through it. Definitely. Trust me enough to be willing to work through it. Definitely. And yeah, it might be little elevated voices here and there. Might be a little hurt feelings. Might even be some tears. But we've learned through experience that you're better off. We're better off after.
Right.
Like, we're better for the long conversations, or even sometimes the angry conversations or the tearful conversations. Like, we're better after. Right. And you learn so much about each other in those moments. But you have to understand that your mate is like, look, we human. Right. Don't tell me, I was going to tell you, but I don't want you to be mad. Right. I'm human. Right. You have to give me space to be upset. Right. My anger doesn't mean I don't love you. My anger doesn't mean I don't respect you. Your anger shouldn't mean these things. Yeah. My anger doesn't mean, that there's no more us.
Right.
Sometimes my anger just means I need to process this. Right. You need to allow me to be angry, and then we'll work through it. Yeah. But you have to allow people the space to feel what they're feeling. Yeah. And that comes in, that's a part of understanding. Understand that I'm human. I'm going to have some feelings. Right. Like, allow me to have those, but trust me enough to love you, anyway.
Right. I think a lot of times we end up having to get back to like the root cause, because in our
it's kind of nice.
so in our marriages and trying to get to that understanding, communication breaks down. So when there's a lack of communication and a lack of conversation, I know, but when there's a lack of communication, lack of conversation, we lose our talk. We stop trying to reach that understanding. And so now we have a space of hurt that we're not dealing with. So now we're trying to move on and have other conversations, and somebody's mind is still back at a space that we never resolved or at least talked about. Good session, teaching from experience. Appreciate you. You said the moments of letting your guard down to let your mate in brings you closer in the long run. Yes, and the end goal.
Right.
Definitely.
But it is hard. I'm not gonna lie. Like, over the years, we've had several of those hard moments. Mm-hmm. Several. Yeah, like of those moments when like you feel like, okay, what are we doing? Right. Like, how did I get here? But like you said, that end goal, on the other side of it, it kind of all pans out. But you have to be willing, to move through it and get understanding. Understand why maybe your protection makes me defensive. Why does you feel like you're protecting me, but do I feel protected, or do I feel like you're withholding stuff? Right. Do I feel like there's barriers between us? What does your protection feel like to me? And you'll never have that conversation unless you're willing to say to me, well, I do this because in my mind, I'm protecting you. Right. And then I can say, okay, but that doesn't make me feel protected.
Right.
Because just because you call it protection, if I don't feel that, then it's not protection to me.
Right.
And I'm going to have my defense up. I'm going to be on guard. I'm going to be watching you like a hawk, because you thinking one thing and I'm feeling something totally different.
Right. That we always talk about, having that transparency, having that communication about, intentions and what's going on, because we, as sometimes for me, like she said, we're not professionals, so I'm just speaking my experience. Trying not to tell her because I'm trying to protect her, or trying to trying to figure ways around without having to include her or something, it doesn't work. It makes a mess at some point, and then it's like, I knew about this months ago. So now it's another fight. Let's keep it real.
Right now we're gonna fight because I feel like you lied to me.
Right. At some point, I probably lied. She asked me something. Nah, we good. We straight. Don't even worry about that. But so it's it's challenging sometimes, especially if you've done it. It gets into a habitual thing and a cycle that once you come to a head, we have the conversation in my mind. Like I'm like, all right, boom. How do I avoid this again? How do I not dig this hole? And I think it's just Dr. Rollins said, yes, that conversation, the emotions are everything. Have to communicate how you feel to bring your partner closer to get understanding. Right. And you have to, it's two sides. So it's me expressing and her at least listening and receiving.
Right. Listening. Right. Listening is important.
Yeah.
But I mean, listening is kind of, a two-part. Like once I listen and hear what you're saying, I kind of need to regurgitate what you said to me.
Right.
Like I kind of need to give it back to you so that's where the level of understanding is. Because if you talk to me all day and I I'm listening,
right,
but then there's no change or it changes for the worse, like there's always that chance of what you said isn't really what I've heard. And sometimes that comes from experience. Sometimes that comes from past hurts, anger, disappointment. It can be a million reasons why you're saying it's raining outside, get the umbrella. And, in my mind, all I hear is you telling me what to do.
Right.
So we both get wet. Like, I know that, it seems like it's some simple stuff, but simple things like that happen. Like, my daddy always talked to my mama like this.
Right.
But, if you don't take the time to get to know people and really, really understand them, then, you're always going to have those hiccups. Like marriage is supposed to be for a lifetime.
Yeah.
A lifetime. And so in that lifetime, you learn about this person's life before you.
Right.
Because let's be honest, we don't get married at 4 and 5.
Right.
By the time you get married, most people have had a lot of experiences.
Right.
And depending on your upbringing, it could have been more negative or more unfavorable to marriage than people sometimes want to admit.
Yeah, definitely.
So you come into marriage with all these experiences, all these disappointments from, let's just say, uncles or, dads or grandpas, have disappointed you. And then you get married and your husband does something that could very well be seemingly harmless. But to you, all you feel is the disappointment.
Right.
And he can't understand why this has blown up so much.
Right.
He don't get it. So that's why it's important to be talking and explain to people.
Right.
And really not just, okay, he say, I'm sorry. Okay, baby, I forgive you. I love you. And you just move on.
Right.
And then you keep having the same.
You can't listen and prepare your defense argument at the same time. Right.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
You can't, you have to remember, listen, this is a team. Marriage is a team sport. If this was in the Olympics, it would be a team. I'm just saying, it would be a team sport. It's not something that you can do with your great, fabulous, super sexy, super confident, overeducated, rich self. It's not something you can do alone.
Right.
You just can't. So no matter how great or wonderful you think you are, it is a team sport.
Definitely.
Now, just like any other team, if you attack your teammates, the team dies. Yeah. The team falters. The team is when you get disqualified. Right. All of those things will happen to the team.
Definitely.
So you got a team of one.
Right.
There's one person on your team.
Right.
And that's the person you got to make sure that you're not just, running so fast, you're just dragging them behind you. Like they got road burn and all that other thing because they just holding on. Yeah. They're just along for the ride. Yeah. So, it's a team sport. You have to check in with your teammate. Right. You have to communicate with your teammate. Even when it's hard, even when you think that you're moving super fast and we got to go, we got to get here. You have to explain to me why we need to go, why we need to get here.
Right.
Why is everything happening so fast?
Have the conversation.
Right. You have to be willing to talk about it.
Right.
Talk.
Yeah.
And there's nothing else that can save your relationship is going to be talking.
Yeah.
Talking and listening.
Yeah. Even in the hurt spaces, even in the triggers. You know, when something's triggered, you have to say something. You have to, you know, like, even if it's small, even if you're reasoning in your mind, like, this is crazy why every time she does a certain thing, this kind of triggers me. You got to have that conversation because, you know, like, I know this is silly, but every time you do such and such, and then it may be, I may not even be able to describe or tell you why. It's like, I don't know why this bothers me, but, or I may, like, hey, when I was 12, you know, like this, and I don't know why I can't let it go. So, you know, so my mood changes every time you do, and it's maybe like a nightly thing, maybe like all the time. It may not have got even triggered until you were together for a couple of years. Like, I don't know, somehow I was able to not pay attention to it, but now it's bothering me, you know, like, I know, and it may be something she has to do, you know, like, I mean, you won't do, you know, so it's just having that conversation. At least she has an understanding. So when my mood shifts to, like, just give me a second, I'm back, you know, because sometimes we have to understand each other. Like she said, we've already kind of have a lifetime. I mean, me and Sam got together young, out of high school. Got together out of high school about 21, 22-ish.
19.
What, no, 19.
It was 19.
But yeah, so we got together young, but we still had a lifetime of stuff lived. We've had some years that passed, you know, before we got together. So there's still a lot of stuff to experience in two different households before we got together. And some people get together at 25, 30, 40. So you've had childhood stuff plus adult stuff, you know. So it's a lot to work through. It's a lot to work through, but we have to consider that when getting into a relationship. You have to consider that, because just like if you're getting in, you know, you have hangups. Know that they have some hangups as well.
Right.
So it's having that conversation.
Yeah, and understanding yourself goes a long way.
Yeah.
You know, I know you've seen on TV, people like, I'm going to find myself. And, you know, you see movies be like, how do you find yourself? Like,
Right.
you with you every day.
Right.
But that's real. Like, sometimes you really have to take some time for yourself.
Right.
Even you may already be married. You married or whatever, and stuff is going on and you can't really figure out how to make heads or tails of it. You got to take a minute. You got to take a beat and be able to understand you, because the more you understand you, the more you can the more you can you kind of like stay away from the pitfalls and the accidents. Like, you know, sometimes I'll say something to him and his response don't be right. Like, I know me.
Yeah.
And so for me, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna give him a minute. And I'm going and do something else. You know, I'll go and run some errands or whatever, because it's clear he need a minute. And I already know if he need a minute and I come in hot, you know, it's just a disaster. So, like, you know, there's things that I understand about myself. Like, when I haven't had enough sleep, if it's been too many days and I haven't slept, I know I'm irritable. I just stay in a room. Like, it's unfair to put that on him because I'm tired.
Right.
You know, screaming out, you know, I'm tired. You know, like, but there's things that you have to understand, you know, about yourself. Like, it makes the relationship better. Like, I know that I have, I'm gonna say issues, challenges, you know, sometimes being vulnerable. Like, I don't like to feel or appear weak. Not like I feel like I have to be super strong either, but like sometimes, I don't know, I feel like I just need to be Sam. I don't need the damsel in distress. You know, like, I just need a minute to be me. You know, and I understand that about myself, but I also understand my husband likes to take care of me. And sometimes, you know, in my head, I'd be like, ooh, But because I know that he has feelings and he's human, and I know that it comes from a good place, I just grit my teeth and go with it. Like, and that's a big sign of maturity for me. Like understanding who I am, but at the same time allowing him to be who he is too. Like, it goes both ways. You have to really, sometimes a conversation is just between you and yourself. Yeah. You have to remind yourself, like, look, is it really that you're weak, or are you just being a wife? Are you letting him be the husband? Like sometimes I have to have those conversations with myself because of my makeup. Yeah. Like, who I've become over the years, or however you want to phrase it. Right. But it is really important to have that understanding. So I know, like,
yes, check yourself first,
right. Like, I know when some things are gonna, send me to the left or to the right. And I've learned to be mindful of those things. Right. When I see it coming, I don't wait until he's done enough to make me blow my top like I used to. Now I'm like, okay, see this? I don't really like when you do this.
Yeah, we have the conversation.
And so, letting him know. Right. What is that?
He said, oh, I'm sorry. It says, Ron said, learning to see through the lens of your mate. Yes. Right. Yeah. Being
mindful of, of we all have needs in a relationship.
Definitely.
And sometimes, it can't always be about what I need. That happy wife, happy life, right. Crap. Or thinking you have to, serve a man in the worst meaning of that word. Right. That's crap too. Like, we're all human. We all have feelings. We all have to be mindful of that. We all have needs and desires, and sometimes they're different. Definitely. So it can't always be about me.
Yes.
Sometimes it's up to me to make sure that it's about him. Right. Just like it can't always be about him. It's up to him.
Right. Happy spouse that
it's up to him to make sure that it's about me. So if you're putting your spouse first and your spouse is putting you first, like you can't lose.
Right.
If he's always thinking about how things are going to affect you or make you feel, and you're doing the same, you can't lose. If you understand who each other are, and how sometimes that crossroad can become a head-on collision,
right.
Then you can't lose.
Definitely. It's in the end, it's, and we always kind of come back to the communication, the intention, and getting to that understanding and talking through those things that bother you or are an issue in your household. It's always revisiting and having those conversations about those things that are bothering you. And we always talk about we may have talked about it, but the just checking in with each other, like what is it that I can do, better, or different, like,
or stop doing.
Right, that's because we have those. What do I need to stop doing? Is there anything I need to stop doing, or anything I can do better?
Don't stop doing. Sometimes it's the most important conversation you can have.
Yeah,
because it be something so small,
right?
And like, I didn't even know that bothered you.
Right.
Well, now you know.
Right, and
cut it out.
So those are great conversations. I mean, if you've never had them and you've been together for a while, be prepared. It's maybe a good long conversation, but it gives us an opportunity to share what they weren't sure how to share. Because sometimes you don't want to discourage your spouse from doing something. It just may be like, I love all this, but it's this right here that I don't like.
See that part where
but I want to get rid of this good stuff.
Right, you put the sugar first. Like, oh babe, I love when you rub my arms or something, but when you rub my feet, your hands is crusty, or something like that. It's like I've learned to say things to him, kind of how I like to be talked to. Don't just tell me don't do that.
Right.
I don't like that. Okay, well, what do you like?
Right.
Like, let's start with some of the things you do like,
right,
and then kind of then you add on the stuff that may not be as sweet.
Then get into what would you like me to do more of?
Right.
You know, like, oh, if you could do more of this, you know, because then that at least as a guy, you feel the guy wants to feel needed.
Do I talk about feet alive?
Right.
Do I really talk about feet alive?
Yes.
Because listen, well, here's the thing. I be trying to keep it internet friendly. You know, your feet. That's what you said.
Well, you said rub my back, but no.
Listen, no, let me tell you something. And I'm probably gonna go down the road. Listen, he has this thing where he puts his hand in the wrong, like.
Taiwan, we must be. See, that's why we're from the same space.
Like, listen, I'm okay with my love handles, but I don't need you to try to put your hand in there. That's weird. And he like, is it hot in there? Is there warmth that I don't know about? But it's nasty, and I don't like it. We have that discussion. It's funny that you said that, because I'm like, don't hold my
right.
My unfavorable spot. Like, I know it's there. You don't have to touch it. But I always talk about feet because I try to keep it like internet friendly. So like anybody can watch it, and you don't feel like I'm crossing some marriage barrier line.
I mean, yeah, she does talk about the feet, but you know, just gotta have the hands ready.
The feet are simple though. That's easy. Yeah. You can't misinterpret touching on the feet. But I never knew I talked about my feet a lot. Thank you, Dr. Rollins. Appreciate that.
Oh, so last week hot wax on the feet.
Yeah, it was. See? Well, because I didn't want to say, listen, again.
Keeping it internet friendly.
We're trying to keep it internet friendly. Like, you know, if this was in the house, a closed session, we could talk about some other areas. But just in case my mama ever breathes through, I don't want her to hear me talking about nothing other than my feet.
Oh, man, that's funny.
But it, like he was saying, it's important to check in with the stuff, you know, that you like, and the stuff that, you know, you don't like. Because, you know, you want to, I'm not going to say make your spouse happy, because you can't make people happy. But I don't want to be making you feel unhappy.
Right.
You know, you can't really make people. Okay, you know what? For the super technical folks, you really do want your spouse to be happy. You want them to feel happy. You want them to feel satisfied. And you want them to be happy with you. Like, you know, I want him to be happy that I'm his wife. Not like, oh, that's nigga here. Like, who was that? You know, when you come in the room, he's like, she's still breathing, right? Like, she's still breathing, like, no, you know.
But I mean, yeah, I know. With the making of happy, like, I don't control all of her mood, but like, to me, like, anybody that can literally control your mood, great or bad, quicker, I feel is your spouse. Your spouse,
your mama.
Your spouse can call you about in 30 seconds, take you from here right down there.
And your mama. Your spouse and your mama can make or break your day. Like, I'm just saying.
So, you know, that in that sense, you know, your spouse can, you know, have something to do with your happiness. You know, because you could be having a great day, they coming out, you're like, oh, they home already. You know, like, you know, and because, you know, relationships end up like that, you know, where
they sure do.
It becomes challenging, like, you know, when they come kids.
Oh,
she said kids too. But so it's
the bigger they get, you're right, them kids will mess your day up.
But like I said, as long as you communicate, I think that the main thing is like never stop talking. You know, I think the silence is death. Silence has always been that space where you don't want to be, you know, and you want to make sure you're tackling the problems, the root of the problems, you know, where the issue started. You know, we into Friday arguing about shoes in the middle of the floor, knowing there's something about Monday that is kind of
right. Because on Monday, I woke up and my car was empty on gas. And you always leave my car at ease. See, that always works. Listen, that's another thing. We got to talk about that because we talked
Always
about those
Always.
words.
Yeah. Being connected has a scientific healing factor. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
That would make sense.
Yeah.
You're right. You definitely you feel better.
Yeah, definitely. But we probably talk about that. Always
Yeah,
and never.
Always and never.
Always and never.
Those two words.
Never.
You should really try to stay away from in your marriage. But
Right.
that's a whole nother bucket. Yeah, that always and never.
You want to ask something?
Don't do that. Don't just
What?
stop in mid sentence and then just
I'm tossing.
because you about to cut it off.
No, I
You
wasn't.
about to, okay, we done.
No,
I mean I think I'm pretty good.
you're good. But honestly, like, just having to understand, having the communication, just talking it out and respecting each other's position. Respecting what they
Respect my
say.
gangster.
respecting how they
I'm
feel
sorry.
and acknowledging how they feel.
Right.
Even if you don't totally agree, but you acknowledge how they feel, acknowledge what you do does to them, because you're not them. So you
What?
can't, what you
Acknowledging what
I do does to them. So me moving this here means nothing to me, but it means a whole lot to you. All right.
It just didn't sound right when you put it out there. So acknowledging what I do
Does to me.
You're not saying it right. I get
You got it. You got it. Let me get some
I
thumbs
get the
up. Let me
sentiment,
get some.
but that just didn't come out right. So acknowledging how my behavior affects you,
Yeah. But that's
We
I
could
said
just
that.
say
No.
that?
Why would I do that?
because that would be too easy.
See, we're in two different places right now. We're in two different places. So like I
Ooh.
said, we appreciate you guys watching
Mm.
and hanging with us,
Mhm.
making it through this episode of Purpose for Forever.
Yeah, a little rocky in the beginning.
Next
I
week.
almost walked off.
Next week.
If I didn't almost have to jump out of this chair because I'm short, I probably would have left. But it would have been too awkward me climbing down. That's the only reason I stayed.
Appreciate you.
Mhm.
Love you. That I caught you. Yes,
Hey,
that
Tawan,
one.
I miss you.
Yeah, appreciate you coming through. Listen, so make sure you continue, honestly, share, tag somebody, tag another couple so they get an opportunity to watch this and be a part of Purpose for Forever. As always, we come on every Monday at 8 p.m.
Mhm.
Make sure you check out the brothers tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. and the sisters.
We got one
at
more
8:30.
Monday of the month. I don't think we're gonna. Yeah.
No, we got one more?
No, we're not coming on Monday after Christmas. We got one Monday.
20th.
Yes.
All right, then. So we got one
And
more
actually,
Monday.
the 20th, we will be live with the other couples
Oh, yeah.
doing our yearly gift exchange.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
So we're gonna do that next Monday
Definitely.
on live, and then maybe we'll get other couples to give you guys an update or just talk about what their experience has been being
Right.
connected to us.
Yeah.
So anybody that's watching, you guys, y'all got homework because next week I'm putting y'all on the spot. So yes, next week we will do our gift exchange and let the couples talk to you guys a little bit.
Yes.
It has been a great year.
It has. It has.
Doing this. Listen, I think we probably would spend more time not speaking to each other if we didn't do this. What do I mean? Like, because I vowed that I would not get online and lie to anybody. So like, we gotta work it out. We can't go days. We gotta work it out. So when we get on here and talk to people, we're not like a bunch of hypocrites. We have worked through our own crap. So it has been a great year for us. This has inspired us to continue talking, continue figuring it out, continue learning things about each other and ourselves.
Definitely.
So I appreciate you guys.
Yeah.
Even though Tawan, you quit me for a little while, but you back, so I forgive you. But yeah, thank you guys for your support. Thank you guys for watching us.
Put it all. All right. So
Yeah.
we're getting back phone call. All right. As always, Taiwan, I'm gonna connect with you too. As always, love intentionally,
love unconditionally,
and live on purpose.
Me and you together, our purpose for forever. Won't let nothing ever tear us apart. Me and you together, our purpose for